Now, Ireland's trees and forests are a precious natural asset and will play an important role in Ireland's efforts to hit net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Here in Virgin Media Ireland, we're doing our part too. Over the next 10 years, we've pledged to reduce carbon emissions by 50%. And as part of that pledge, we've announced a new tree planting partnership with VEON Forestry. Here to tell us more about this exciting project is Senator Pippa Hackett, Minister of State for Land Use and Biodiversity, and Joe Codd, Director of Business Development at VEON. Good morning to you both. Thank you for joining us today. Senator, I suppose we'll start with you. And as a nation, where are we in terms of being eco-aware in 2020?
I think we've come a long way. You know, it's not that long ago that we saw the Taoiseach of Radker, you know, having to admit, that we were a climate laggard, and we've certainly, I think, turned around since that time. We've certainly seen more awareness among our citizens, among our school children. We've seen how progressive, in a way, the climate strikes were. Obviously, we haven't had so many this year with COVID, but there's certainly that youthful engagement with it, and we certainly are becoming more aware. And I think, projects like this show even it filtering, through into the corporate layer also.
We were only talking earlier on the show about Greta Thunberg winning last year Times Person of the Year, and absolutely was, being eco-aware was on everyone's mind. And I suppose credit is due as well, as you mentioned there, to the teachers around the country, because from a very young age, children, it would appear, are very aware of the basics, be it recycling at home, helping our environment, and that can only be a good thing.
Absolutely, and I think you were right in saying that, and I think our younger generation are probably far more aware than indeed maybe their parents. But I mean, that education filters up into households, so it's great to hear young kids talking about recycling and upcycling, and a lot of schools have school gardens now, and they're probably managing them in an organic way. So there's a lot of really good applied pieces out there in schools and for kids, and I think the more of that we see, the better.
Absolutely, and we were just discussing there in the introduction, Joe, just the exciting partnership between Virgin Media Ireland and your company VEON. So tell us about this initiative and what we can expect over the next months and years.
Yeah, so this is the first of its kind partnership between Virgin Media and VEON. It's where corporate Ireland and private landowners are united to create native Irish woodlands. So the partnership came about following a conversation between myself and Tony Hanway, the CEO of Virgin Media. The concept is it's basically where when a forest owner's commercial conifer woodland, it's come to the end of its forests, kind of like Sitka spruce. They've come to the end of their lifespan, and the trees are cut down and cut into products such as construction materials for building houses, your pallets, your stake, your fencing materials. And following the trees being cut down, then the ground is actually replanted with 100% Irish native woodland trees. So species such as oak and cherry, hazel, all those type of species.
Have you chosen locations around the country for this? And how many trees are you talking about planting?
Yeah, so at the moment we have 3 sites with planting underway. 2 sites in Sligo and 1 in Leitrim. I think Derek's out on actually one of the sites in Leitrim this morning, or in Sligo actually this morning.
Sligo, yes, working hard there.
Yeah, and when the 3 sites are planted, we'll have planted over 50,000 trees, with thanks to Virgin Media for planting the trees there. So, and following this, then what we're planning on doing is we'll roll out more projects then next year. So.
And in terms of the benefits for the ecosystem, the surrounding area, and all of these sites, what can you expect?
So, over the lifetime of these trees, they'll sequester roughly around over 12,000 tonnes of CO2 from the atmosphere, as well as all the other environmental kind of and social benefits that come along with planting trees. So, your rural employment, your social benefits such as preventing flood risk, soil conservation, more biodiversity. And I think for us in VEON as a forestry company, but also as a kind of an ecology-based company as well, those benefits are huge, and I think that's why Virgin Media chose us, because we have that forestry in-house knowledge, but we also then have the ecology arm as well that we can work with. The last point I might make in relation to this kind of project is it does help to address the kind of public concerns in relation to the high percentage of coniferous trees in Ireland. Notwithstanding now the importance of those trees and the production of timber products from those forests in relation to badly needed construction timber for building houses in Ireland, and also the low carbon footprint that they have. But it's about planting the right tree in the right place, And we're lucky that we have the sites that we found for this project. They're very suitable to actually planting native broadleaf trees. So I would say if there's any forest owners out there, and they have forests that are at the end of their rotation, and they're very close to being cut down, that they should get in contact with us, and that we could maybe have a look at their sites and see are they suitable for planting native trees as well.
Joe, it's fascinating to see how the partnership actually works. And Senator, just listening to what Joe is saying there, how important are partnerships like the one we're discussing today between Virgin Media Ireland and between VEON? How important are these partnerships? And for businesses out there who'd like to get involved, who'd like to reduce their carbon footprint, what would you say to them?
Look, I think any partnerships that promote tree planting, particularly of native species, is to be welcomed. I know. Look, my own Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, essentially oversees most of the planting of forestry in the country, and we have seen a public partnership of public bodies planting on native species on public lands. So it's great in a way to see this replicated in the corporate sector, with corporate lands and corporate entities like Virgin Media supporting the planting of native woodlands in particular on private lands. And so I think those partnerships are really important, and I think this could be really the start of something really exciting moving forward. And it also gives landowners and farmers that opportunity, especially at the end of a cycle of forestry, maybe to try something else. And in a way, it's a longer term vision, but that's important
that's
too,
okay,
because
though, to have long-term goals.
And I think that's really important. And I think, as Joe indicated, the benefits for biodiversity and habitat creation are hugely important. And we do need to keep planting more broadleaf species. It's really important.
And you can see how people are so enthusiastic. You mentioned the public there as well, not just business and corporations, but the public, their imagination, especially when you've got children, you're trying to bring that sense of being eco-aware from the school home. It's lovely to have initiatives like this.
Absolutely. And I think as well, I think the public will embrace a native woodland probably a little bit more easily than say a conifer plantation. But we have to strike that correct balance of, as Joe said, that the right tree in the right place, and that we fit in with communities. So we need that community engagement also. But I think so far so good. This is looking like a really exciting project, and I hope it's the start of many more.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Senator, and also thank you very much, Joe. Have a lovely Christmas.